Hey everybody, I'm on a bit later, starting a bit later than I thought, and I have got to end real quick because, well, more personal medical stuff. Doctor visits coming up on Monday and everything else. So the good news is that my mom is getting better gradually, but notably, and it's a great thing. But let's cut right to the chase. You know, there's so much I could just talk about, right? In terms of what happened the last weekend, the last few days, outside of sports. But we all love sports. We love to talk about the NFL and, of course, the Raiders issue. That's why a lot of you are here. All those, we could foray into other areas. But for the interest of time, okay, I will say that Khalil Mack, 120 million guaranteed. Whew, that would be an enormous risk, to say the least. Um, Someone's said that because it's the payments to the players are based on revenue sharing, uh, that was one thing. But then if I looked at the coaches, it was different. And I my point is that regardless of where they look in terms of their pot, between the new stadium and their current obligations, my question is a simple one. How much money do they project having at their disposal? And are they using part of the line of credit from Bank of America? Hey, Donis, how you doing? Are they anticipating a giant naming rights agreement? Because if they are, it's still going to have to pay for the stadium, right? It's something is going on where the Raiders would allow it to be leaked that Khalil Mack would receive 120 million guaranteed. I mean, guaranteed money, guaranteed money. Um, and in fact, let me try. I'm typing. How are NFL coaches paid? In fact, you know what? Not, and the answer is like at the highest paid. I want to know what pot it's coming from. Okay, and they always talk about the where the pot comes from. Now we know that Nick Saban, in general, is the highest paid football coach in the land, right? At least in America, and that's American football. But in terms of NFL coaches and how their salaries are paid, that is another question. Uh, because there's so many payments that are off the books. I'm looking down the results. I mean, the Bengals made Marvin Lewis one of the highest paid NFL coaches this year. Is he worth it? I think so. Bill Belichick gets about he has a base of 7.5 million annually. But where does the pot of money come from, right? Where does that fund come from? How are NFL coaches paid? I say head coaches. And then if I do, see, revenue sharing, I'm just going to jump the gun and say revenue sharing. It's funny because the reason I do it that way is in search. You type words expecting that maybe it'll fill in the blank with the other words. Doesn't always work that way. Here's one: NFL revenue to salary percentage question. Player share and revenue. And let's see here. This is a question that came up on Reddit, of all places. NFL revenue to salary percentage question. And does anyone know what the NFL is. That's what the question is. It says players sharing almost all revenue generated, right? 55% of league revenue, league media revenue, 45% of NFL venture postseason revenue, 40% of local revenue. Players receive between 47 and 48.5% of total NFL revenue, which leaves some for the coaches, all right? So, again, it begs the question, because there's a lot of contracts that are off salary cap purview. Like, remember Sebastian Janikowski? His contract, it was at will. They could come at any time. It had no impact with respect to the cap, right? It should have, but it didn't. It had nothing. So as much as people talk about the cap hit and everything else, there are these other contracts that are off frame, if you will. And so you think, hey, there's something going on here with how this money is really handled. And there is. We don't get the full picture just talking about the cap and capologists. Barry Lee says, I can't believe local Vegas TV stations are reporting how the low hotel tax for February. Well, it's about time. It's news. And I think, Barry, that there was a conspiracy among the media to help the effort by not putting out bad news so that it could get past these voting hurdles and the bonds could be released and sold. But once that was done, hey, they were free to say what they wanted to say. And the Stadium Authority reporting what they've always done, right, with the stadium revenue, but also, but in a sense helped them along. But if they were honest brokers, the local media, which they're not, let's be honest, they're not, they would have said, hey, there's this guy out here, me, who is on a consistent tear to say, oh, they're not going to raise enough money. And they could have had a contest. Was Mr. Abraham right? Oh. And then, of course, if I were right and they said that was wrong, it'd be embarrassing for them. I'm right. I like the fact that the media is picking that up. I don't like that the media is picking up my stories that I initiated, but then, in a sense, trying to steal my online footprint. So when KNTV of Las Vegas reports on the room tax issue, they make a video and they try to basically, by keyword, push my videos out of the way. There's one problem. I have a ton of videos about this. They did the same thing with Dan Schwartz. Yeah, I'm the person who originated the video interview with Schwartz. They made a story about it, but then they also made a video, right? So when they put their video up, I did my keyword analysis and I thought, hey, they're trying to steal my thunder because they are not being honest brokers and linking to me. So I thought, okay, I'll just take this part about the Raiders that I never put out directly and put that out. And I did, and so I was able to regain some temporarily lost advantage, right? So now I have 4 items of content from that one 34-minute, 38-minute video interview with Dan Schwartz, Nevada Treasurer, okay? That's the media game today. You can't just put out something once. You have to be able to put it out in different ways in video with different titles for different traffic-related concerns of a particular, around a particular story, okay? If the media are honest brokers, I wouldn't have to do that. They would link to the video I had. It's a different world today because of the entry of journalism into blogger space. That's why I call myself a blogger. I'm not going to go off on a rant about it, but bloggers' ethics are far better than journalists' ethics. Bloggers are clear about where they're coming from. You know my biases, for example. If a blogger sees something from someplace else, a blogger notes that and also links to it. Um, if a blogger has to take something down, the blogger would rather not take that down if it's wrong. The blogger would rather leave that up, whatever it is, and then make a follow-up item of content saying, hey folks, the previous item was wrong. Okay? You don't, because to erase it is to imply a cover-up. Bloggers don't do that, but journalists do. Journalists are, in their practice, not appropriate for the internet. And that's why we had the growth of bloggers' rules of ethics. But I digress, okay? And Donis isn't cite your sources. Not all the time, Donis. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned that. Bloggers should not cite their sources just as a journalist. And the reason why I say that, citing your sources is far different from linking to someone's blog, okay? But if you have someone, and this gets to the advent of blogging and what made blogging useful and popular, why you had so many bloggers at one point that had anonymous names, fake names, obviously fake names, because the idea of blogging was to report the things that others were too afraid to report, or you knew were gonna, if they knew your name, we're gonna get you in some kind of substantial trouble. Maybe in certain areas of the world, possibly loss of life. Okay, all right. So to cite a source means you might be citing someone who's seeking political asylum, who knows a lot of dirt about a particular higher up or muckety muck. So you don't want to cite your sources. What I hate about people who ask someone else to cite a source is in the modern age, it's always in the context of hearing something they don't like. Oh, I don't believe that. Cite your source. No, I'm not going to cite my source, because you're asking me to give up my relationship with somebody to salve your ego, to salve, not you personally, but salve your hurt feelings that I've came up with something that you thought I shouldn't have. That's the way it's presented a lot of the time. So no, don't cite your source. In fact, I want you, Donis, to look up Josh Wolf, who's a friend and a Facebook friend of mine. Josh Wolf in 2007 went to jail for a while because he refused to give up the name of people who gave him photographs regarding a protest in San Francisco. The judge asked him to do it. Josh refused, and so the judge sentenced him to jail, and he went right to Santa Rita and stayed in jail on principle. So that's because he felt that giving up that person's identity was something that was too dangerous. He didn't do it. That's the extreme example of what I'm talking about. But it's an example, and Josh is a blogger. Okay? So Donna says, like Deep Throated with Watergate. Yeah. Malcontent says, do you mean do not cite confidential sources? Malcontent, you have corrected me very well. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Do not state a confidential source. But also, Malcontent, people have a tendency they know that what you're saying came from a confidential source. They'll say, cite the source. Well, no. Or they'll say, well, how come this other publication hasn't picked it up? Well, because they are the other publication. All right. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right. All right. And Malcontent says, not every source wants or needs that level of confidentiality. Well, but see, here's the thing, Malcontent. That's for the source to determine. If someone talks to you in confidence, they expect the confidence of their name to be maintained. It's not where you could say, well, gee, to appease this crowd, I think I'm going to give up who I talk to. Don't be stupid. You don't owe anybody an explanation for what you do. The minute you believe that you do, you have no confidence in yourself as a blogger or a vlogger or anybody in media. That's bad, okay? That's not what you do. So, anyway, So going back, and as Barry Lee just wrote, he says, if you cite your sources, then there's no trust and therefore no way for you to get info. Exactly. Like I can tell you right now, the city of Oakland is massively screwed up. Okay, I was gonna start off with this, and but you know my mom's she needs me, right? So I've been going back and forth. I wanted my original idea was to bring the former mayor of Oakland on and talk about the massive problems in Oakland, as revealed by the decision by Andy Campbell Washington, the District 4 council member, not to seek re-election for a District 4 seat. But on the way out the door, she's not really out the door. She basically said she couldn't take the toxic and corrupt environment. But the problem is that everybody from the mayor on down is a part of that, including Annie. And yet the mayor comes out, Libby Schaff, Mayor Schaff, my friend and god sister. I'm really disappointed in her, and I let her know it. I'm just really bad. It's just a bad week for Libby in terms of decision making. But she put out this message that was really critical to Desley Brooks. Now, yeah, Desley may have her issues in terms of her bedside manner, but I like Desley. She's a friend of mine. I understand to a degree, you know, a large degree, what where she's coming from as an African American woman. And but it's not. You don't have to be African American or female to understand her. You just have to be empathic, and you have to listen and watch. Keep your eyes open. But yeah, Desley got into a little thing with Elaine Brown. It was as much Elaine's fault as Desley's, the former Black Panther person. But guess what? It's a sad lesson in the politics of law enforcement. But whoever calls law enforcement first is the person that winds up looking good. And that's exactly what Elaine did against Desley. Was it a BS move? Of course it was. The police didn't file charges, but then Elaine Brown took it the the civil level, and she won a case that was like $4 million. But because Desley represents the city of Oakland, it was the city has to pay. And then they tried to file an appeal, I believe it was, and they lost, and they had to pay an additional $1 million, right? But two wrongs don't make a right. And so because she did that, you have a number of council people. You got the mayor, Abel Guillen of District 2, the city attorney, Barbara Parker, and yeah, those persons, and Lynette Gibson McElhaney, who are plotting. I kid you not, they're plotting how they can get Desley out, who's running for re-election. That's bad. You know, I'm trying to figure out what they can make up, what kind of story they can create or manufacture. I'm not kidding you, okay? And I can't say who I got that from. But it's terrible. And instead of Libby taking the high road, she calls Desley the Donald Trump of politics. So we're messed up in Oakland. I was going to talk about that, but I didn't have enough time. Okay, we're messed up in Oakland, and just a complete mess. Now, let's move from there to the real deal, which is again, is Khalil Mack? I'm asking you a question. You can answer by yes or no. In your opinion, is Khalil Mack worth $120 million guaranteed money? Hey, welcome to Zenny62. You can answer with a yes or a no. I mean, Malcontent already has a yes, but that's not for this question. Okay, I'll start by saying no. No, I don't think he is. And I'll tell you why. Because of the injury possibility. Crawford says no. That's two no's. The possibility of injury is too great. He already has some miles on the tank. Now we have Jack Bauer says yes, and Donis says too much. Donis, you tell me, is he worth that? Yes or no? And so who got Malcontent says, I thought he only wanted a 65 million guaranteed. Well, there was something around the buzzing around 120 million guaranteed. That was a rumor, okay? So that's why I put out the question. Is he worth that much? Okay. Citron says, no, look happened, Carr, he got paid, but he didn't get that money guaranteed. Carr's contract is not entirely guaranteed. It's I believe it's 70 million of it's guaranteed, but not 120 million. 120 million would be a record. Donut says too much, period. Joseph Binsman. Joseph says, evening, folks. Fun first weekend of the NBA playoffs. Yes, who's your team? Eric Young says, hello, fellas. Long time no see. Yeah, nice to see you, Mr. Young. Raider Kuko says, no pardon my ignorance, but can he be franchised? Good question, Raider Kuko. Let's see if let's see, because I don't. I thought he could, but I don't. Mac franchise tag. Let's see here. The Raiders will have the option to either already have a long-term deal finalized or use the franchise tag, which they project to be around 17.5 million in 2019. So they do have the franchise tag. They do have that option to use. Now, whether or not they'll use it, it's kind of a screwed up thing to do, but they might. And I think given their current cost obligations, I think it might be a good idea that they do it. Malcontent says, no, 120 million guarantee won't happen. I agree. Joseph Binsman says, my team is the Knicks. The team I'm rooting for in the playoffs. A few want to see the Thunder go on a run. I want to see if the Timberwolves can make it a series with the Rockets and the Bucks. You're obviously East Coast guy. Warriors, man. Strength in numbers. Strength in numbers. That's right. Crawford says, for an edge rusher, 120 guaranteed is insane. Yeah, I mean, I could see if, he was racking up like an average of 4 sacks a game, but he's not. And for those of you who say, well, he had 5 sacks against the Broncos, I present to you Adrian Claiborne, previously with the Falcons, who had 6 sacks in one game. I believe that was against the Cowboys. So Joseph Benson says, I'm a New York kid, a guy raised in New Jersey but hard in New York City. New York has some beautiful women. I just have to say that, okay? Just every time I'm there, it's, oh my God, oh my Lord. I'm single, mingling, not, in a position where any woman has to get her feelings hurt. But I just have to say that. Now, Tom Kohler says it's way too much. It is way too much. It is really way too much. Now, so basically the verdict is, all right, Khalil Mack, while being a great player, is not worth 120 million guaranteed. Tom Sanders says Claiborne did have that versus the Cowboys' second team left tackle. Well, it doesn't matter. He had it because second team left tackle, I look at it this way. I blame the Cowboys scheme for causing it because the Cowboys could have called very short passes. They could have ran. There are a number of ways they could have blunted that possibility, but they didn't do it. Joseph Binsman says, I could see at least 75 million from Mac, not 120. 32 Assassin. 32 says, I don't see how the team can pull the trigger on 120 million guaranteed. Trade a Cumming or the franchise tag. I think Khalil Mack should be franchised. I really do. Hey, by the way, speaking of other issues I want to sort of fold into this, Eric Young says, my screen's completely, well, I'm sorry about that one. But anyway, let's see. Tom Golfer says, what if Mack is injured after the first game? Exactly. Malcontent says, give Mack 65 million guaranteed, no problem. Hey, can anyone else see the screen? Is anyone else having an issue? Yeah, just let me know. I know Malcontent, not Malcontent, excuse me. But Eric Young says he's having his screen all black on his phone. I apologize. Not my fault. It's your dang phone, dude. Like Malcontent says, video's good. My video's good. Who else? Everybody else? By show whys, whys mean yeses, no's mean ins mean no, right? Um, Now, Thomas Sanders says no one is offering 120 million guaranteed, more like 65 million guaranteed. I can see that done easily. So you believe that even 65 million guaranteed, okay, fine. But if it's 65 million guaranteed, which should his total contract be? Should it be 80 million? 90 million? Should it be what Derek Carr got? Can you make a case for the idea that Khalil Mack has equal impact on the game to Derek Carr? I can't, because he's not the quarterback. Crawford says Raiders are going to give McKenzie Le'Veon Bell treatment with franchise tags until time to take action with long-term future. Barry Lee says, I was reading today that the NFL tried to get the St. Louis case dismissed on the grounds the relocation policy is local, and it's not internal but local, and it's not related to any contracts between the city and the. Yeah, they did try to get it, but they failed. That happened weeks ago. You're late to the party, Barry, but you're right. Pedro Gallardo says his total should be 120 million-ish. Citron says it can be around Carr's contract size. Interesting, quite interesting. All right, folks, shifting gears for a minute to Las Vegas, and in the interest of time, because I've got to get up again in the morning later, there is a trade war started by your president, Donald Trump, against, as he likes to say it, China. And according to the Nevada Independent, that trade war could very well have a negative impact on visitation rates in Las Vegas. Yeah, that's right. So they, how do they speak? It says the Nevada Independent says tourism and gaming could be hurt as Trump inches toward trade war with China. This is by Herberto Sanchez. Now, the reason they give is that they say President Donald Trump's escalation in trade tensions could hurt Nevada's key industries of tourism and gaming as China looks for ways to retaliate. And it says certainly Las Vegas could feel the brunt of a trade war in the form of China basically deciding that they are going to make it difficult for Chinese to travel to the United States, said Elliot Parker, a professor of economics at the University of Nevada, Reno, who focuses on trade issues. Nobody wants to get this to get out of hand, but it could. Members of the congressional delegation are also concerned, including Democratic Representative Dina Titus, who represents the Strip, and former fellow Southern Democrats Ruben Cohen, Jackie Rosen, and Senator Catherine Cortez Masto. International tourism, particularly from China, is a critical market opportunity for Las Vegas and the United States as a whole, Titus said in a statement emailed by her office. Okay, you get the idea. What does this all mean with respect to the Raiders? It means, because the trade war is going on now, that, hey, more downward visitation rates from visitors, which means what? Lower, potentially lower future revenue from the hotel stadium tax. That's right. That's what it means. And so this illustrates, like, once again, why this deal is a house of cards. And why I've said before the NFL approved it, it was a bad deal. You do not mortgage, and quite literally that's what the Raiders and Clark County have done in this. They've mortgaged the financial future of this stadium construction project to this iffy hotel visitation rate. And that's exactly what it is. It's more iffy now than ever. Barry Lee says Trump needs to ask employees who are losing game jobs because game is changing 24-hour shifts. I don't understand what GM is. Crawford says, seeing potential consequences with this deal. Crawford says, Trump thinks the trade war is huge. Barry Lee talking about the last is, well, I'm old, that's why I'm late to the party. At least you're honest. Joseph Benzema says, notice how Trump is trying to get us back in the TPP. He said he has no solid positions, flows with the wind like a true con man. Yeah, He does. I think he actually, as president, here's the danger of being that way. As president, you don't flow to the wind, you can flow and make the wind, right? And that's what's so dangerous. So he says one thing, everybody goes this way because he said this. He says nothing, everyone goes in this way, right? That's what's dangerous. He can direct the news to go wherever he wants it to go just by a statement. Um, and so, Comcast says already less room tax. I told you. Thomas Sanders says hotel tax could decrease, but will it be that way for 30 years? That's the question. Well, Thomas, that's a great question because, and I did get the schedule. It starts off low and it goes up, right? But the average, okay, the problem is that all the forces that are pulling back visitation rates from growing show no sign of abating anytime soon. I'm really waiting to see what the March numbers look like because in the short history of the room tax collection, March of last year, the first month of the collection of the tax was the highest to date still. It was at 5 million, a level never seen since. So the question is, where will March be? And then where will April be going into May, all right? Will they get to 58 million? Doubt it. But this whole news regarding a trade war is a new factor that will, if it continues to go the way it's going, conspire to pull down the visitation rates. So you've got that, you've got the room tax, the room fee, the what's called the resort fee. It's a big issue because they pumped up the resort fee. You've got the rise in underemployment, which also has risen at the same rate proportionately as homeless. You got high housing costs and higher in California. So you've got, looking around Las Vegas, it's hard to see a place that where you can say, oh yeah, the tourism's going to increase in volume and more. And China, even though not one of the largest exporters of tourists, is substantial from an international standpoint. Canada's the largest still, but you can't mistake that China has enough people coming in to where if that was cut by half, you'd have a problem. And it could be cut by half. It really could. Okay? So, Malcontent says Californians are already staying away from Vegas. Why do you think that is? Tom Kohler says it's already, yes, I got that one. And Bradley says General Motors. General Motors. GM. GM. Pedro Gallardo says, how much is the tax on hotels? It's 88/100% for hotels in the strip area and 1/2% for hotels outside the strip area. Pedro says, the one time I go to Vegas, the price goes up to $200 a night at Planet Hollywood. When was that? And I might add, convention rates have been okay, but it's the casual visitor numbers that have been down for Vegas. So for example, CES was in Las Vegas this year. For January, there were 100,000 fewer convention goers. In February, there were slightly more. But convention rates have been strong. Conventions are less the issue. It's more the casual visitor to Vegas. And that's the issue, okay? Malcontent says economics, all the points you just listed. There you go, yeah, there you go. So, and Pedro says paid for it now, but the event is in November. Oh, okay, sounds like a convention or something, right? That's what it sounds like, yeah. All right, folks, it is 1:07, and I'm going to do the unusual bit of bidding everybody adieu until tomorrow. Pick this up tomorrow. It's 3-1 Knights. Ooh, the Knights are dealing. So you think the Knights are going to sweep the Kings? Ooh. Barry Lee says, has the NFL said anything about how they will deal with gambling and NFL players profiting from the gambling? Mm, it's more, they haven't issued a definitive statement on it, except to say that the policies are still intact, miraculously. That was last year. This year, it hasn't come up. It did come up at the owners' meeting. I take that back. It did come up at the owners' meeting. Commissioner Goodell did give a statement. I have that statement as part of the overall press conference. I'll take that and I'll break it out into a separate video. How's that? But basically, the song from the commissioner, without the help of Joe Lockhart, by the way, who's no longer with the NFL, was that the NFL's policies remain. Thomas Saunders says, we'll see how things are once the stadium is built. They're drawing this without it being built at this time. Interesting. Drawing what? Joseph Binsman says, impressive beating a veteran team like the Kings. They won. Barry Lee says, have a good night, all. Hey, good night, Barry Lee. Chum Kohler says, they think that if they have more hotel rooms, they will get more visitors. That's BS. Yeah, because they're not going to have more hotel rooms. It doesn't really, it didn't work that way between 2014 and 2015. There's no reason why it's going to work that way, any time soon in terms of years, right? So, no. But Thomas, you said a comment I want to address before I sign out. You said, we'll see how things are once the stadium is built. They are drawing this without it being built at this time. Interesting. You talking about drawing down the money? Yeah, it's part of the design, but even then, drawing. Oh, he says, wait a minute. He says drawing fans without the stadium being built. They are. I'm not saying. I mean, I'm not seeing that. That's nothing there. I mean, if you want to explain what you mean, I'm not getting that. Kohler says, Tom Kohler says that I think I repeated that one. Yeah, I'm not following you, Thomas, as far as drawing fans. The Raiders already have fans. The Malcontent says, Joseph B., the Knights are the fastest team in the NHL. Speed kills. There you go. Said Cliff Branch. No, said Al Davis. Who said that about the Raiders and Cliff Branch? Speed kills. You know what it was? It was a sign that was posted at the northwest end of the Coliseum, end zone there. Speed kills 21 Branch. Yeah, there it is. All right, folks. I didn't get my answer from Thomas Saunders about drawing fans without the stadium being built because it didn't make any sense to me. But whatever. Joseph Binsman says, interesting. Speed definitely helps. Ha. Didn't help my Rangers when they made the Cup versus the Kings. No, it did not. All right, everybody. Thomas chimes in. He goes, will fans be coming in from around the country to watch the Raiders? Will more fans come and see the Rebels, etc.? Okay. Will they? Here's my thought about that. The fans, everyone want to come in, right? But Las Vegas habit of jacking up room prices for big events will keep, combined with ticket prices, will cause some to stay away. The big X factor is to what degree will these folks stay away such that it translates into empty seats. Now, the way this is going to go for this kind of stadium is you're going to have like the first 5 games well attended. Brokers will buy them, they'll sell out, and then after the 5th game, when they get used to it, they'll do that. And then it'll be a blip depending on who they play, okay? That's how it'll work for the first year. And then the second year, it'll be even less, okay? Because of the fact that you don't have this large base of people in Las Vegas who can afford to go to the game. Unless the Raiders decide to entirely lower the ticket prices for those people. That would be the game changer. The Las Vegas hockey team certainly did that, right? But that would be the game changer. The Falcons here did it in their new stadium for their fans because you want to get people in there. But the simple, sad fact in the NFL today is more often than not, you have stadiums that are far less than sold out, even for big games, and it's obvious. It's not a good look for the league. So the big question out there is, will the Raiders have games in the new stadium that are obviously sold out every single game of the first year? My answer to that is no. Unless, with these ticket prices, no. No. And with these PSL prices, no. If they adhere to the idea that you have to have a PSL, no. And I don't care what anyone says. You're selling just what? You've got 40,000 PSLs. You've only sold, what, 2,000, 3,000, maybe, what, 10,000? Less than that? All right. Less than that. Okay? Okay. Tom Caller says, we don't know what the ticket prices are for regular fans. Tom Caller says, the question is, will the Knights still be a fan favorite when they're on a losing streak? Right. And the other question, that's right. Albert says, how much is a hockey game in Las Vegas for a playoff? Let's see here. Let's find out. It's a very good question. Let's see here. It's a very good question. Las Vegas playoff tickets. I'll let you know. Vegas Golden Knight playoff tickets according to SeatGeek. Or Vivid Seats. Let's see. Let's see here. Let's check StubHub, since I like StubHub. So I'll tell you. Plus, I'm signed up to use StubHub. Okay. Vegas Golden Knights at Los Angeles Kings, home game 2, series game 4. They're from $81 for Tuesday, April 17th. So you can go for $81. That's cheap. However, there's only one ticket left at $81. Thursday, when they come back to T-Mobile in Vegas, they start at $210. So here's the thing. In Vegas, here's what I'm talking about. In Vegas, they're $210. In LA, they're at $89. So you want to figure out who cares more about their hockey, right? If I click on, yeah, that's right. I can go to an LA game for half, playoff game for the Golden Knights, for half what it costs in Vegas. So it's $210. That's the walking in fee, and it goes up. Okay, so you've got upper end 210. All right, that's in the rafters. Okay, down below you've got 370, 620 if you want to sit right there on the, the 549. If you want lower bowl center ice is 620. That's the highest one. Okay. Lower bowl in on the goal areas, that's $335. So they're pricing these, but in LA, no, it reflects demand. No one in LA cares much. In Vegas, they're like, yeah, okay. So there you go. All right, there's your answer. John Davis says, I can't afford it. Thomas Sanders says, but they're still selling out in Vegas. Right, $210. But think about it. But think about this. $210 for a playoff game is affordable. It really is. But what is it for a Warriors game, right? Let's say Golden, right? So let's just do a little comparison. Golden State Warriors playoffs tickets, right? Playoff tickets. All right, 2018. All right. So we've got, once again, my my favorite, StubHub. StubHub is San Antonio Spurs at Golden State Warriors for Monday night's game at Oracle Arena. $89. Huh. For the Spurs for game 2, $89. Only 8 tickets left at $89. Thursday's game, get this. Are you ready? $38. Okay, $38. Wow. The highest game, Saturday, April 28th, Spurs at Golden State. That's game 7. Is 119. So then the tickets, you want to get the tickets in advance for the game 2, series 2, right? Those are starting on StubHub at 130, highest 145. And then if you want to get it for the third game, it goes up to $200. Now, as we go into the games, it gets up to 500, 588. But the bottom line is, you wanted to go to the Warriors game Monday night at Oracle Arena, that's $89. That's what it says. In San Antonio, it's $38. So basically, the Golden Knights in hockey have higher ticket prices than the Golden State Warriors.